Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm reviewing one of the great films from the 1950s, one of the great black and white westerns, one of the great James Stewart Westerns. This is called Winchester 73. And I am so glad that the Criterion Collection got a hold of this. You can get this in the 4K, you can get this with the 4K Blu-ray. It comes with a little booklet inside. It's a must-have for Criterion collectors, and probably in my top maybe 20 westerns of all time, maybe my top 10, I don't know, 15, something like that. James Stewart, in my opinion, was always the perfect actor for the western genre. In fact, if you turn the commentary on, which I suggest you do at least a little bit, you get to hear an older James Stewart reflect on his time in this kind of a role. And he talks a little bit in the beginning of the commentary about this vulnerability that he got to show on screen, as opposed to someone like John Wayne, who maybe had less of that because of his stature and his screen presence. And I love James Stewart anytime I see him on one of these westerns. There are many good ones, but I think Winchester 73 might be my favorite of his, and certainly one of my favorite black and white westerns. So this story is a... there's an episode from a TV show called Supernatural, of all things. I can't help but think of this, of the lucky rabbit's foot, that it causes trouble. No matter who gets the rabbit's foot, it seems to have a little bit of a curse behind it. And the booklet that you get with this fantastic package says something similar in this essay, Under the Gun. It says, the prize Winchester gun is both a magical object and a cursed one, changing hands amid a series of ambushes, trades, battles, shootouts, holdups, and duels. Throughout the film, every man who sees it reacts in exactly the same way, instantly smitten, caressing the polished and inlaid stock, peering down the faultless sight lines, urgently gripped by the need to possess it. And one of the brilliant things about the filmmaking is that very early on, not only do we get an explanation of the importance of the gun, literally printed for us, but there's a clever shot in the beginning of children looking at this weapon in all of its glory through a shop window. It almost reminds you of Ralphie from A Christmas Story, just kind of, gawking at the thing. And we are in the beginning, we are in Dodge City. We meet a good, fun little version of Wyatt Earp. I actually think that's an underrated aspect of this film, is how it incorporates that particular part of Western mythology and history. And there's a contest, a 4th of July shooting contest. Whoever wins the shootout, it's not like, shooting contest, will get to have this special version of this gun. And from there, the rest of the story is who wins it, who gets it next, why does this person have it, did they steal it, did they kill for it? And we kind of follow the gun around, as well as an ensemble of all interesting characters pretty uniquely. There is not a weak character in this film. In fact, I've watched this film twice now, and on a rewatch, some of the characters that I didn't, pay attention to as much before, now I was, and vice versa. And one character that I really want to point out here, who I think just really holds her own, is Shelley Winters, who, if you are a Criterion Collection fan, you may recognize the name Shelley Winters from a number of films, especially one of the greats in the collection, a black and white masterpiece itself, The Night of the Hunter, where she is the wife of Robert Mitchum. But she's so tough against these guys. She can shoot with a gun, she can handle herself, and she is up against some pretty strong personalities. And so I think her performance really elevates the film, and she is given a meaningful role in it. Now, there were a number of other good actors in the film. Dan Duryea is in it. He plays Waco. I think they call him Waco the Kid, who to me is one of his better performances. I think he is appropriately restrained when he needs to be, and a little bit crazy when he needs to be. Beyond that, what makes this film so attractive? What makes it so fun to watch? I have to tell you that for a film that's so full of dialogue and philosophical, and you see these characters and these beautiful campfire shots talking back and forth, it's also pretty darn action-filled, and it consistently ramps up the tension because something is always at stake. Sometimes the gunfire and the gunfighting is claustrophobic. A bullet feels as if it's right next to the character's face, and you feel that discomfort. I don't see a whole lot of these old westerns that really deal with that aspect of the gunplay, where you're kind of like this close to the bullet, and you're just constantly kind of trying to get an edge and not get shot at. That part is great. And I was thinking about this while I was watching it again. I really wanted a cup of coffee while I was watching. And I'm watching this after work, because I haven't seen it in a while, and I was so excited to get my coffee. And I was like, I can't have a cup of coffee, and I want one so bad, because it really nails that vibe of being around the campfire or being in a Western town, and it makes you want to do that. And it's so full of iconic Western stuff in general. I mean, they even say the gun's so important that the only two people who have it are President Grant and Buffalo Bill Cody, which I actually brought my old decanter out here. I found this at a thrift store. And just looking at this decanter, this old decanter, kind of makes me think of the Western. It's just so full of reverence for the genre. The saguaro cacti are in some of these beautiful shots. I think it was actually shot in the national park. Some of the spots there I recognize. I mean, there's a great use of a bank, robberies, bar stuff, gunfights. The gunfights in this are top notch. There are some moving shooting sequences in tight quarters that the choreography and this, I don't know how some of that was pulled off. I'm thinking of one bar fight, as if you can call it a bar fight, where James Stewart gets a guy, and I've never seen that much viciousness out of James Stewart as I did in that scene. And I think Anthony Mann pulled that out of him in a very unique way. We think of other directors who did get their mileage from an actor as good as James Stewart, but I just don't think anybody, including Hitchcock, really got what Anthony Mann got out of that actor. And of course, when I watch this film again, next time I'll probably turn on the commentary and listen to it fully. But again, what I did listen to of it was fantastic. I looked at some of this film in the 4K, some of it in the Blu-ray. I'm going to be honest, I didn't notice a whole lot of difference there in terms of that quality. For me, the Blu-ray would probably be fine, but I'm glad to have the 4K. A few other little pieces about this. So, John McIntyre from Far Country has a small role. He's very good in it. I wanted to say that. There is a whole aspect of this film that I wish could have been explored more, and that is this idea of how predatory salesmen kind of use and abuse the relationship with Native Americans. And I'm talking around spoilers there, but there was a little bit, both times I watched this film, I was like, man, I wish we could have gotten a little bit more out of that, because I think for all the strengths of the film, and do not get me wrong, this is a 5-star out of 5 film. I just would have liked to have seen more of that. Maybe that's a different movie, I don't know, but that part of the film felt a little bit unexplored, which is sad, because one of the best scenes in the film involves that whole predicament and that whole dynamic, and it leads to another really good gunfight. I mean, there's not a weak moment in this film. Some people like the film better after it gets out of Dodge City, because I guess it's not as action-packed, but even the shootout or the shooting match, it's incredible. It's so fun to watch, seeing if James Stewart's going to win or this other guy he's playing against is going to win there. There's a good twist in the end that I think works well, but it's not like the whole thing is dependent on the twist. Gorgeous cinematography, everything as a Western fan that you would want is there. And it's a beautiful, great piece of cinema. Must own for any Criterion collector. And if you're a Western fan and you've never bought a Criterion Collection film before, this might be the first one you should get. I love Stagecoach. I've got that one from the collection and several others, but this might be a good place to start here with this Anthony Mann classic. Real good film. And I'm so excited. I was so excited when they first announced this. It was one of the things I was excited about more than any other release they've done in years. So those are some of my thoughts that I thought I'd share with you, especially those of you who love Westerns that do watch my content. And if you did enjoy this video and you want to do me a favor and click that like button, I would appreciate it. It will help grow the channel. consider subscribing if you haven't done that. I cover, especially lately, I've been covering a lot of Westerns, but I try to cover Westerns when I can, and lots of Criterion stuff, lots of different film topics. I just love movies and sharing them. And then tell me if you could, in the comments, like, what James Stewart films do you like in general? Westerns, like something maybe I haven't seen before. Always love that feedback, and we'll see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.